Frank, Ray, and Derek were hardened men. Recently released from yet another prison sentence, they had already managed to rob and beat an honest worker before disappearing into the countryside to lay low for a while. Frank had arranged a job with a local farmer, and their crew was tasked with building a new barn. Ray and Derek, who had followed Frank's lead since prison, obeyed him without question. They thought they struck gold when a scrawny young guy named Ethan asked to join their crew. They didn't need extra help, they needed a decoy. Hard labour under the sun didn't appeal to any of them, but Frank promised he'd handle it. All they needed was some fool who'd work for pennies and do all the dirty jobs. Ethan was eager to prove himself to his parents. He was determined to show that he wasn't soft and could earn a living on his own. He threw himself into the unfamiliar, grueling work with impressive energy, but that fire started to fade quickly. Still, Ethan tried not to show how overwhelmed he felt. Then Emily appeared. She was a bright, chatty, curious village girl, and her visit gave Ethan a rare moment to breathe. He was so caught up in their conversation that he didn't notice Frank quietly listening nearby. When Emily left, Frank sat Ethan down and calmly asked what they talked about. Ethan, happy to share, told him that she worked as a village mail carrier. She'd be back tomorrow, she said, after her pension delivery rounds were done. She delivered money to the entire village and would be on the road all day. By evening, Ethan was so exhausted he could barely crawl into his tent. He didn't even have the energy to sit by the fire with the others. Not that they invited him. Tonight, they had their own quiet, secretive conversation. Their hushed voices made Ethan uneasy, but sleep overtook him. That night, Ethan had a strange dream. Emily appeared to him, but twisted, almost ghostly, and she was crying for help. He woke up in a cold sweat. Did he really hear a scream, or had it been part of the dream? The next day, Ethan's body ached from head to toe. He noticed a commotion in the woods which unsettled him further. His crewmates had all disappeared. The site was unusually silent. Before he could wander far, Frank appeared out of nowhere and gave him a stern look. Whatever was going on, Ethan had no business knowing. His job was to dig and stay quiet. All day Ethan waited for Emily. He was smitten. She had stirred something in him. He just wanted to see her again. But the sun was setting, and she never came. That night the men poured Ethan a few drinks. He didn't resist. Through the haze of smoke and alcohol, he noticed the others whispering, divvying something up. He tried to lift himself and see what they were doing, but his body gave out. He passed out. Again he dreamed of Emily. She looked like she existed in another world, bright, ghostly, otherworldly. She called to him, and he followed. In the dream he obeyed her every word. Like he was hypnotized, he carried rocks, chopped wood. His hands bled with blisters, and he woke to the sound of shouting. Ray and Derek were standing over Frank's body. Frank's head was covered in blood. A wooden ladder lay broken beside him. A heavy rock stained with blood was nearby. Ethan froze in horror. He had never seen a dead body before. Reality and dream blurred. Was this real? Or was he still asleep? He grabbed his things. He needed to run, but Ray and Derek blocked his way. "Go ahead," Ray said. "Run! Straight to the police, but you're part of this now." They told him to dig a grave. They would bury Frank on the site. Too much heat from the cops was the last thing they needed. Later, at the fire, they forced Ethan to drink with them again, just to make sure he didn't disappear during the night. He drank, and once again, Ethan saw the dream field, the same strange door. Emily stood there, beautiful, glowing, but cold. She called to him again, and this time a hammer appeared in his hands. He struck something again and again until his hands were raw and covered in blood. He awoke to Ray's screaming voice. Derek was missing. Ray was panicking, demanding to know where Ethan had been. But Ethan had passed out drunk and slept the whole night by the fire. At least that's what he thought. His hands, blistered and raw again, told a different story. Soon they found Derek's body. He had fallen against the fence. A wooden plank had driven huge nails straight into his chest. Ray was furious, 2 men dead. Ethan sat on the ground, stunned, whispering the details of his last dream over and over. It was too specific to be coincidence. Ray said they couldn't stay. Ethan would have to run with him. But first, they had to bury Derek. That night they drank again. Ray smoked cigarette after cigarette in silence. Ethan sat across from him, terrified, shaking. He didn't want to run with Ray. He didn't want to dream again. But the dream returned. He found himself in the field again. Emily stood in firelight, this time like a goddess, glowing and terrifying. She called to him. Meanwhile, back at camp, Ray lit another cigarette and dropped the match. The tent caught fire instantly. Ethan awoke alone, lying on damp grass. His clothes smelled like smoke. Ray was gone. Ethan understood. The dream had come true. Again, Emily had taken another life. He staggered through the woods, trying to reach the village. But no matter how far he walked, he couldn't find the road. And then it hit him. Emily had shown him everything, the dreams, the revenge. It wasn't random. She had been killed, and her killers had been punished. Ethan had helped her find peace, though it had cost him his innocence, maybe even his sanity. But as strange as it was, he was grateful. He had seen her. He had said goodbye, and the guilty had paid in full.